All right.
And here we are. Welcome to our Thursday book launch. My name is Malika Albrecht, and I'm the founding editor of Redheaded Stepchild. Just a reminder, if you have any rejected poems, we'd love you to send them in. We are open for submissions. Redheaded stepmag.com, I think, at gmail.com. But you can go to the website and look at our submission guidelines. It's pretty straightforward, 3 to 5 poems. I don't want them published elsewhere, but they have to have been rejected. And I don't know about you, but that's a pretty easy thing to find amongst my
So do you
collection.
have
Yeah.
to, I have a quick question. Do you have to say where they've been rejected or they just,
I don't care anymore. I used to keep track of that and I called it my dumpster diving. I like the list, but now I'm not as concerned about that because it's pretty amazing the range of poetry magazines where people had stuff rejected and some poems multiply rejected. And actually I had to put Redheaded Stepchild on the list because there was a poem in a submission, collection at one point that I had rejected. And then the person had worked on it a little bit, sent it back. And so I was on the Redheaded Stepchild was on the list as well.
mm,
So less concerned about that. A lot of times people don't remember. They just know it's, been rejected and that's fine.
mm,
I just like the idea of honoring the fact that as poets, we know that's really part of the whole experience. And that the irony is oftentimes it's timing or what's already been accepted as far as an editor of a magazine goes. And I think it's a good reminder that all of us are in that same boat. And now we get to celebrate something of beautiful success. And so we have Mary Lou Buschi here. And I think it was Juan who I have to thank for connecting us, if I'm correct, Mary Lou. Is that how you and I
yeah,
connected?
yes. And Juan
That's
is here.
so
I
awesome.
think I let him in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you let it because I see him
Yeah.
there. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Mary Lou. And just a reminder, if you want to read for open mic, send me a message
Yes.
and I will make sure to write you down. And we will also, make sure to offer up spaces in the open mic at the end. Mary Lou Buschi holds an MFA in poetry from the MFA program for writers at Warren Wilson. We love everybody from Warren Wilson College. And also a master's of science in urban education from Mercy College. And I already got to say, I'm super fond of Mary Lou for y'all hear it at the end for a number of reasons. But all the special education teachers are hold a special place in my heart as someone that has a daughter that is on the spectrum. So her poems have been published and are going to appear in Field, Willow Springs, Ping Pong, Four-Way Review, Cream City Review, and so many others. Mary Lou has been nominated for Best New Poets, which that was in 2014. Also a finalist of Best of the Net anthology. She was also a finalist for Larry Levis Book Prize through Four-Way Books. Mary Lou's third full-length collection, Blue Physics, published by Lily Poetry Review. I do have a link in the chat section so you can order it. And also, Mary Lou, if you want to let her know through the chat section that you're interested in purchasing a copy that she signs, go ahead and put your name and your email address to kind of connect y'all, or you can reach out to Mary Lou on social media. She received fellowships from Santa Fe Writers Conference, also Vermont Studio Center, and the New York City Teaching Fellows. Mary Lou has been nominated for the Big Apple Teaching Award 4 times. She's a full-time special education teacher working with adolescents with autism. Mary Lou, thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to hear you read.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Juan, for connecting us. And also thank you, Juan, for your beautiful words at the end, at the back cover of my book.
Trying to
Um,
spotlight you. Give me just one
okay,
second. Hang
sure, no
on.
problem.
Go ahead. The video seems to have gone off. See if you can turn that back on. I apologize. I'm not sure what's.
That's okay. Let's see. Did that
There we
work?
go.
Okay, great.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
Fabulous. I gotcha.
so what I wanted to talk about a little bit, sort of frame the book for you. The poems I'm going to read tonight are sort of the heart of the book. And at the heart of the book, there is a missing sibling. And the sister, who is me, but is sort of trying to understand what's happening around her in the family with this missing sibling. So I'm going to share with you at the very end, hopefully, if I can share my screen, a letter that my brother wrote that I found just recently. And he went missing in 1977. He turned up in 1981, not alive. So the letter that was sent to us was sort of in code because he was trying to get us to find him, but he was in danger. So part of that letter I've used within other poems as erasures. So the third poem I read will be bits of that letter. So I'll show it to you at the end. So I'm going to start with the homiletic poem that opens the book. Um, and here we go. Blue. The way light bends, blood through skin, a circle within a lake, how it moves. The ice storm knocked out the power, leaving us camping by the fireplace for weeks. The velvet couches covered in thick plastic, far off glaciers, Inuit families living there, eating charred fish, never fighting, never in anger. Our bedrooms, mysterious caves left in wreckage. The night before the storm, my brother woke me, asked me for my coin collection, and anything in my piggy bank, promised he'd pay me back. I got out of bed, felt the cold crack like ice lightning up through my bare feet. I was too young to understand desperation, too young to feel danger while admiring the incomparable beauty of a frozen tree in moonlight. I imagine the Inuit family around a small fire, sharing stories, sharing how hard the world. The mother stroking the chapped cheek of her son, who plays with a stick that he flicks in and out of the flames. My mother, a distant figure, walks the yard, now a museum of glass, searches for her son. Down power lines edge the streets. My father adds logs to the flames that jump and lick to defy gravity. The boy surrenders the stick to the fire. Coda. My family pretending to be normal. I've always hated my birthday. My father cooking chicken on the grill until it was black yet raw in the middle after my brother John disappeared for the first time. My grandmother smoking and sweating on the back porch, my mother rocking in her chair, staring at the black and white TV, barely visible in the sun's glare. I was out in the brown grass. It was a dry July. I was hoping for a little bit of joy, a carvel cake soft enough to cut, allowing its chocolate crunchy bits to spill from the center. 2. Dear Lucy, confused. Through hell and back, I couldn't begin to believe. Friends, November through January, I hope. Please call me. I will fill you in. Love, John. 3. There were no gifts, not even music, just the sound of the town parade, trumpets, distant sirens, pounding drums, beating out some idea of American triumph. 4. Dear Lucy, Rose, my love, through hell I've been. This code, please break it. If we still exist. Love, John. 5. I looked back at them, my father on the cracked concrete step, flipping terrible chicken, peeling paint on the makeshift porch, even the dog with her dry nose between her paws. 6. Dear, I couldn't begin to explain. I hope to see you again on this side. Love, John. 7. A tableau of a family. How wrong to think a family was like a body, a central heart. It's really a tree splitting from the weight of all that living. Tangerine. We run past the smashed and jagged gravestones, pebbled tar sticking to our bare feet. We call it conditioning, making the soles of our feet so tough we can walk on any surface without shoes. Laying out on the hood of my father's car, memorizing the lyrics to Tangerine. Measuring a summer day. Skateboards, bikes, train rides between towns. No one knew where we were or what we were doing. It's the quiet car. He slips his hand up my shirt. I play dead. The game is whistle. Go as far as you can before she whistles. 1976, the bicentennial. Gerald Ford is president. Underage drinking in cars is tolerated. Seatbelt belts just ropes in metal cages. Jimmy Page is God. Children know not how to entertain themselves in the basement during an adult party. Outside the basement window, we watch branches twist together, scratch an incantation. A cardinal with one wing whispers our names. Memento Mori 1. Nuns are sadistic, especially the ones who don't wear habits. Our principal's face was wool, her hair the texture of rusty Brillo. I sat in her office while she phoned my father, her goldfish making quick circles to the left, to the left, to the left. It's November. My middle brother has died. We decide on cremation, burning a dead body until no hands and feet are left, just ash. I put my hand inside the bag. He's thick, luscious sand. I want to walk on him, toss him in the air, make sand art in a jar by dyeing sections of him cadmium yellow, Prussian blue, vermilion, and rose, take a long straw, make waves out of all of his brilliant colors. We didn't cremate John. No, my mother needed to see him whole one last time. Today, we stand at an open grave. The priest says what priests say, blesses the urn with holy water. Rust rivers run down its sides, decomposing before we had a chance to bury it. Memento Mori 2. My mother holds up a blue beaded dress. Bury me in this. I was 8. I used to climb into her closet to roll my fingers over the beads. Remember this dress, the sequin stars. When she died, I chose a serious black suit with a white peplum, a dress for a magic trip, woman about to be sawed in half through the roof of her box. Before the funeral director closed the lid, he asked me if I wanted the shoes back. I took them, leaving my mother barefoot. For months, I was trapped in a hearse with her. Window, door. I knew they were there, but I was inside the box, the open mouth of her shoes hooked in my right hand, a blue dress pinned like a dead bird above. The cyclone. The cyclone was a roller coaster in Bertrand's Island. I don't know, and no one's from around here, but if anyone's from around here, they might remember it. When my father asked me to ride the roller coaster at Bertrand's Island when I was too small, I acquiesced. My mother disappeared into the tower reader's purple tent. We knew we had at least 15 minutes to sneak away and ride the 1 mile of track with its sudden dips and turns propelled only by gravity. My father slipped me by the large vertical ruler to quickly board a metal car, which back then had no door, just a flimsy belt that stretched over our laps. I curled myself into my father's chest, shut my eyes, both of us silent. My father held on to the metal bar with one hand and me with the other. The car lurched forward, some screams, some laughter broke through the whip and crack as the car careened over the track. After resisting the force against my small frame, the final descent. It felt as if we put ourselves on a platform on the top of the world and jumped. There, my mother was at the exit ramp. I don't know if my father had any fun at all. The day room. In the middle of my life, I find myself back in high school, where years ago I swallowed a handful of pills, landing in a psych ward for 2 weeks. A small upright piano in the day room waited to be remembered. I knew how to play the way we were, and with a little help from my friends. With patience my age, I watched daytime TV, ate vanilla ice cream out of white cardboard cups with flat wooden spoons deemed safe enough for us. James admitted he tried to hang himself multiple times. Hannah said nothing. She held her Telecaster on her lap, like body armor, just strumming. Through windows, I watched the cars pull in and out, a Mondrian painting making and unmaking itself. I thrashed in anger, spoke in tongues as the doctor took notes. Without warning, my parents stood in the doorframe, frightened of me, a new animal. As we walked down the hall, Hannah joined us, played Joe Cocker's version of With a Little Help from My Friends on her guitar. James turned his face away from me. I was leaving him in the day room. Maybe it was that my parents lied, told me my brother was hit by a car rather than shot in front of his car. Later, I'd read my brother spent 1 week in a coma. No one knew his real name. His alias, Robert Warner. My father switched on the radio in the car. My mother hummed, her voice pinpricking the air. All these years later, teaching Newton's law, it's James I think about most. He wanted to fly, but kept falling back to earth. I hope he is somewhere scattered, a billion atoms the thickness of a sheet of paper, that when released, floats ever so gently, resisting the pull of this world. And this is the last poem I'll read in this section, and then we can talk a bit. And this is a direct address from the speaker to the brother. Black Maria. For years, I dreamed you were alone in a cheap hotel room. I'd drive there to find you, but when I opened the door, you were gone. John, who would you be now? You at 75 and me waiting 42 years, the cards yellowed in my hands. Let me deal you in the game of hearts. You, still with a full head of hair, crooked smile. Remember, aces are 2 points. No player can play a heart card or the queen of spades on the first trick. A player can't lead with a heart until a heart has been broken or played in the game. Should we order in your favorite dumplings? John, do you feel the sun? It comes in every day at this time and lights up the splintered table. Both of our faces bright, no distance between us. Thank you.
Holy smokes. Mary Lou, that was a very powerful reading. And I think there was something that Juan had said, just admiring the way you made space for the poems to, to be without any explanation, their own organic experience. And I think was made it even more impactful for
Oh, thank
me.
So I was trying
Yeah.
to think about this reading, if you're putting together like a mini chapbook of the book. So I just kind of wanted to read through them in that way.
Well, I would say you're going to see the notes in the chat section, but there's a lot of phrases that just stuck with all of us, and people are writing, congratulations. I can't wait to read them all. Yeah, and the lines that resonate with us. The player can't lead with a heart until a heart has been broken or played in the game. Ah, smokes. Just gorgeous reading.
Thank you.
Um, I'm going to put us all in the chat section, and I want people just to jump in. We're really relaxed here. So if you have a question for Mary Lou, if you want to talk about a particular poem, jump in.
Oh, and I wanted to share my
That's right.
screen.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let me
Let me spotlight you again for that, for
okay.
John's letter.
Okay, let me see now. Share. Open system preferences. Am I not going to be able to do this? Let's see. No, it's not going to let me do it.
Oh, it's not letting you do it? Let's
No,
see.
but I could show it this way. I can show it like old school way. So this is the original letter that I found, and I found it in my family calls it the family valise, which is really just a 1970s suitcase, but it had all the wills and it had a lot of family artifacts in it. And just recently, I was going through it and I found this letter. And this letter was actually written to his wife. His wife's name was not Lucy, but I think he was afraid to use her name. So he was sort of, speaking in code to see if she would contact him. And then other things I found in there were letters that he had written to his students. He was a high school teacher for a short period of time, and he taught rhetoric and drama. And he wrote a beautiful letter to his students when when he left. And so some of his letters are also incorporated into the poems as well.
It was the one that had the sections where we would get to hear what felt like, direct pieces of the letter. For
Mhm.
me, it was very powerful. It was, it was just the impact
Mhm.
of communication and not knowing, um, what happened, even,
Mhm. And
as
I
we hear
I still don't completely know what happened. I'm sort of trying to piece together exactly what happened. So it's still sort of unknown. We have a theory, or I have a theory, that he was in witness protection program. So I'm uncovering some of that.
it. Yeah. I think that, you know, a lot of us, and we've talked about this here on Thursday nights, poems have been a way of containing or navigating or healing.
Mhm.
Poetry is a healing path, and the idea that words have the potential to heal us goes back, eons. I mean, the Egyptians would put healing phrases on papyrus with liquid, and you would drink it, eat it,
Mhm.
uh, in the attempts to heal. And I wondered how hard it must have been to approach some of these poems, because you really just go all in, and I wonder how you juggled that, and how you navigated your other family members.
That's well, I'm the only one left in my immediate family. So some of the other poems are also about losing my mother, my other brother and father. I do have other family members, but my, immediate family, that I'm the only one left. But I did worry about it, and I think there's my sister-in-law here. So we'll see what she says. But I did get the okay from a cousin who was really close friends with him, and that meant a lot. Um, but yeah, so as far as going all in, there is a story about that. So when Lily published my second book, and so when I sent this book in, it wasn't quite done, but they said, okay, we're going to take it, but under the condition that you're going to keep working on it. And then when I sent a draft in, my editor said, I need to do a Zoom call with you. We need to talk. And I said, okay. And she said, I really feel like you may want to go deeper here. She said, I don't know what is actually happening. Could you tell me? Would you be comfortable telling me? So we talked it through, and she said, oh my God. She said, I 100% support you and back you. Just know you have an editor and a publisher that support you. Go for it. So I was like, okay. And it was due in 3 weeks. So I had to dig deep, and Juan knows this because I told Juan, and I had to really reimagine a lot of the poems. Black Maria, the last poem I wrote, that just poured out. It has not been edited. That's exactly the way it came out. And it was the last poem I wrote before I pushed send. So, and some of the other like hinges, poems in between poems were the same. So
Mhm.
but I had to do a lot of walking around my house because it's heavy material,
Yeah.
and then looking at, the letters and reliving it, so it was exhausting, but but I'm glad I did it. And now, I'm sort of working on these other poems that are more surreal, but
Mhm.
imagining, the coma or the fugue state, and working through that because I do the grind quite often. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but you write a poem a day and you send it to a
Mhm.
group of people, and so yeah, that's what I've been working on. So it's like a piece of it a day.
That's amazing. And thank you for talking about your process and also, how you came to work. I mean, obviously, how wonderful to have a publisher and a press and an editor who really support, this heavy work. And they're gorgeously written poems, but and they're well crafted, and then the story behind it, and all the work that it had to have been exhausting. But I deeply admire that you were all in and that you created art and such beautiful things that so many of us related to. And you'll see in the chat section where a phrase will come up by three of us at the same time, which is
That
always funny to me that, there's so many lines. If you ever wonder what are the lines that stick with people, oftentimes the chat section is going to tell you like what just hits home because you're going to see three people at the same time going, "Holy smokes, that line." Regina, you asked how long was he away from home before he died?
Okay, so he disappeared twice. And again, it's like little kid memory, so to me, I thought he was gone for, years and years and years, like, but it really wasn't that long, and he was very young. So the first time he disappeared when he wrote that letter was 1977. And then it was about a year he was gone. He came back, and then he was with us for another year, and then he disappeared again, and then he didn't materialize until 1981. And so he was going under an alias, so when he was shot, no one knew who he was, or they did and they couldn't say anything because he was in witness protection program. And so there was a woman in the hospital excuse me, who sat with him, and she wrote my mom a note, and sent it to her saying, he wasn't alone. I was with him. So,
Mm.
but it wasn't until after he passed that they called us. Yeah.
Just surreal and so incredibly painful, on top of pain, on top of pain, so many layers of complexity.
Mhm.
Juan, you said you had a few questions. You want to
Yeah,
just jump
yeah,
in?
yeah. I have a couple, maybe two questions about the same line, Miss Buschi. Um,
Juan Pablo.
and the line, I love a line that always hit me was resisting the pull of this world. So I
Yes.
have a question. You just say what you want to answer first. Why resisting, and what are you resisting?
Well, if I was thinking about my physics experiments that I do with my students, and one or not one, um, the character in the poem, he keeps failing. He keeps failing at trying to leave this earth. And so I guess the speaker is hoping that he finally, it's a weird thing to hope, but that he was finally successful and he was able to resist the pull of being pulled back to this
Right.
world so he could be free.
Yeah.
So would you say that that is you, or is it John
No,
speaking?
no. It's actually the person I'm leaving in the day room, but it's also, speaks to John as well.
Thank you.
And we were all failed, in the psych ward, we were all failed attempts. So I probably should have done a trigger warning too. Sorry, everyone, for suicidal ideation.
And just to dovetail with that, if you need to, pause or step away, you can take your camera off. We support you in doing what self-care is for you.
Absolutely.
Most of us have found poetry to be that path. And I think that I was starting to think, certainly there must be groups that this, this collection in particular, all of us have had loss. And I think it speaks in that heart way, the language of grief. But in particular, how powerful for other family members who have lost their family members through, them disappearing or not knowing, or, finding out they've died and not knowing the background of what happened. I think that that's, a particular form of like grief, a particular thing to carry. I mean, it's kind of like being a survivor of someone who has committed suicide, or being someone who's lost a parent to Alzheimer's. I mean, there's particular things, but the language of grief, I think, speaks to us all. And I think that's why so many of these phrases, stuck with us. Yeah. Resisting the pull of this world was one, by the way, that registered at the same time for a lot of people. Yeah. The new animal. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many. When you go back over, you're going to be like, holy cow, that's interesting.
I do want to say that there is some humor in the book as well, that it's not all dark. So, the poems, a lot of them take place, in growing up in that time. And there's a lot of music and teasing out some of I went to Catholic school for 9 years, so
obviously
there's a
the
lot of
nuns are
humor
sadistic.
there.
I was going to say, you also are fluent in sarcasm, which I always admire.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that in the book as well. So
For what it's worth, Mary Lou, I wouldn't call you whimsical, but I think there is humor and there is lightness, like Led Zeppelin showing up on Tangerine. What I mean,
I have Billy
I don't.
Joel, Led Zeppelin, Janet Jackson's in here,
Yes, yes.
the Decemberists.
For what it's worth, I think you're a deep poet, but not a heavy one.
Yeah, there's some lightness. I think there's a balance. Anybody else?
Did I miss any questions? I was checking through the chat section and I don't see anything. So unmute and ask your question, or we can all unmute and take a moment just to thank Mary Lou for such powerful poems, such well-crafted, really impactful poems. Yay. Thank you, Mary Lou. That was
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, Mary Lou.
Really beautiful work.
Wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. That's my sister-in-law.
I love you so much. I'm so
I love
proud
you
of
too. I'll be
a
sending you
wonderful
a book.
All
about
right, I
Zoom.
hope signed.
Yes, of
Might be
course.
worth millions someday.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Hey, fingers crossed.
Yeah, so definitely, if you did want a signed copy, reach out to Mary Lou, or you can put your email and just say, I'd like a signed copy, and that way y'all can correspond. I also have been putting the link to directly to Lily Poetry Review. It's in the chat section again. I only had 3 people that said they wanted to do open mic, and now I see a 4th. I've got you one. Okay, now I see Karen. And I've got Regina. Oh, good, Laura. Shamala. Did I miss anybody? Cal, I already have you. So I think I've got the correct list. If anybody would like to, jump in afterwards, please do. Sometimes we get moved along the way. Regina, I'm coming to you first. Hello.
I didn't know it was going to be first. Okay. Okay, so on my ride down to Carteret County today, I was looking through what I might want to read, well, for the event in Carteret County, and I came across this poem that I wrote, and I've never done anything with it, and I'm like, wow, okay, so here we go. This is entitled, "We Are Magic People." We are magic people, saints and sorcerers who can prophesy, curse, see, and then unsee in the same eyeful, and not move when the familiar terrorist turns its eye and casts it into the brightly colored lights beside us or in us, and fatally fires its fear. We are magic people who have lived ages on repeat, whirling storms of suffering, calling sages to herald saviors, leveling levees that were designed to hold back discord, designed to prevent destruction. We cry enchanted tears to arouse revolution, recycling chants from days and more days gone by. Insistence floods our mouths and breaks through our lips. They sound as rolling waves of courage laced with desperation. We are magic people who can fly, yet can never seem to make it to a new sky, one in which we can soar satisfied. We alight on posts, claim and unclaim, and build around them, dare and deny rest to others, tired and tried sojourners, fleeing crippled systems. We are magic people, broken magic people, addicted to pain and peril, who refuse to conjure the very spells that would make us whole. Alas, we scream to both gods and demons for dills and deliverance, swallow them, and heave up our own demise again and again. Thank you.
Ooh, that felt like a extended incantation. That was gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Regina.
that. Thank you so much.
Mm. Christy, I am headed your way. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I picked up Mike James's book, Back Alley Saints at the Tiki Bar again. So I'm going to read this poem tonight because I just can't stop writing about this book. Lessons learned while drinking with Back Alley Saints at the Tiki Bar. Claim a piece of driftwood, record its truth. Record your truth in its rings. Breathe in the direction you want your life to take. Dig into the detour you're probably being led. If the journey sours, brush your teeth, leave the floss behind. A trail of mistakes can set a left right. Let bonfires teach you to lick the highest points of light. Sing to your favorite clogs when you want them to dance with you. Never lasso a lightning bolt with a leash. Forage familiar pockets for what you forgot to know in your bones. Thank you.
Oh, that is gorgeous, Christy. Please do check the chat section because we're over there writing a ton of stuff. Cal, I have you next.
Yes, thank you.
There you go.
I got mixed up, and I think this is the same poem I read last week, but I changed it a fair amount, so it's better. And anyway, it's called Free Lunch. A South Namibian mother counts her cows' ribs and raises maize. Flood season is coming. Some Pacific waters heat or cool, El Nino or La Nina, or will some global climatic effect, she imagines. The hot wind-driven dust has brought drought. An old trucker told me rule number one, gravity always works, he said. You need to learn to make it work for you. Make the depression the dip in space-time. Do it for you. Employ nanoparticles, tiny quantum bundles of energy to do it. The famous physicist said the universe is the ultimate free lunch. And meaning its start, big piston bang, and that only due to impossibility of knowing what it came from and what it ends up going to, figure of speech from not knowing. Free, if you don't know where it comes from or where it goes. Planets, finite eddies get to exist a few billion years of balance, seeming to oppose the flow of everything apart. Matter forms and gathers and persists in little anomalies, for short times like scattered dust. Some global effect, we imagine. Top of the tall heap in the high seat. We're geniuses of balance. We've made it all work for us. But if I know anything, I know what's top heavy falls down. Here, there is no free lunch. Thank you.
Fabulous. What's top heavy falls down. Thank you, Cal. Make sure you check the chat section.
I will.
Juan, I am coming towards you.
You said
Yeah.
Juan, right? Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna read a short poem that was published pretty recently. It's called My Personal Teleology. So here is the epigraph. A definition: the explanation of phenomena in terms of the purpose they serve rather than of the cause by which they arise. My personal teleology. My mother loved to tell me that story, her voice orphaned when she would come to the part about her father. And my thoughts would grow tendrils, hoping to climb the trellis of her sadness. Losses I did not understand then. Poems exiled to my old notebooks that still susurran whisper like St. Francis greeting his beloved shy sparrows in his humble little chapel in Assisi, their wings fluttering like prayers that God had not heard so far. Thank you.
Beautiful
That
one.
is gorgeous. Just beautiful. I was trying to write it all down, fluttering like prayers that were not heard. I just not like I was like, oh, I've got to talk. I've actually got to speak English. Well, and that was gorgeous. Make sure you check the chat section.
Thank you.
Okay. Karen, I'm coming to you. Here we go.
Okay. I'm actually reading a poem tonight that I think some of you have heard already, but I shared it with some other writerly peeps last night and they liked it. So I'm back in love with it. So I'm going to read it anyway. This is My More. I watch a deer worn path most mornings from my chair. At my worn wooden table, watch over the chai-scented steam rising up from a painted clay cup in my prayerful hands, most mornings. But on some, I journey out and into the whispering of woods, walking reverent to the wonder there, among graying barks and the pallets of leaves, serving themselves up from earth to sky, or from sky to earth, soaring my soul. I breathe my wonder in this morning and wander out and up to the ridge, filling completely any of my empty with open, until what had been dark within me, what had been needing, what hole had been dug in me, is filled with something more. Like what might be breeze kissing dew into dancing through trees, or maybe, just maybe, something like God kissing me.
I'm in love with the two, Karen. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Make sure you read the chat section. So you'll see, you'll see all the things that were hitting us at the same time. You guys are once again on fire. Do you ever wake up on a Thursday that it's not hot? Come on. All right, Laura, I'm coming to you. There you are.
Oh, time to unmute. Okay, this is something I've been working on. I'm not even sure it's done, but I'm going to read it. The Formulae of Bees. It was 3 days before I remembered to tell the bees. Oh, I remembered to open the window. I remember to open the window, to let the dead retrieve you, and to set your soul free on its journey to the next life. And the clocks were stopped at 4:15 to mimic the repose of your body. We covered the mirrors to avoid seeing our own deaths and to keep you from the desire to stay. But the bees, did they sense your departure and wonder? Were they distressed to be told later, and will they swarm and leave along with you? Meanwhile, I sip at the last dregs of my days. They taste of cold coffee. What I want is to be warm, to sit among the bees as I try to solve for the calculus of loss.
Oh, Laura, that is gorgeous.
Great.
There is something lovely and mysterious in the bees in there, and I really appreciate that. We have our last poet the calculus of loss. Make sure you check the chat section, Laura. Shamala, I'm coming to you.
I'm going to apologize in advance because this is long. It's a poem Malika suggested I write yesterday.
Yes.
Or is it 2 days ago? Anyway, it's called Monsoon Daughter. 1. It is mid-afternoon in monsoon season. I am home again, briefly, from America. I stand on my brother's veranda, smelling the rain coming, while my family, inside the house, discuss a function we are to go to that evening. The air is heavy with the smell of the sea, healing absences so accustomed I had stopped feeling the emptiness of them until that moment. My mother, mistaking shaken joy for grief, comes out and asks, "Why are you standing here? Come inside. Are you upset? We don't have to go to this function if you don't want to." I remember a lifetime ago, her urging me close to her father's grave, thrusting a lit candle into my child's small hand. I meant to plant it through the tangled blanket of smoldering wreaths into the friable clay beneath. We cannot take anything back from the grave, must light every candle. The air is dry and acrid with smoke as we plant more and more lit candles that tilt and scorch more greenery, on and on till black smoke drifts and the sky is no more. Nothing left but choking dry air and sucking clay holding my slippers bound. I pull to escape, understanding dryness is death. 3. Port Dickson, Malaysia, where I was born. I am surrounded by waters whose very names I love. Straits of Malacca, Indian Ocean, Andaman Sea, Bay of Bengal. Across the peninsula from me, the South China Sea is as warm and loving as a mother's womb, except in the fury of monsoon season. Beneath my feet as I bob in the water, the Sunda Shelf, a submerged continental plate, holds all of the lands about me together. The water is so shallow I could wade to Indonesia. I laugh and take 2 steps, then suddenly flounder into a deep pool, sinking in over my head. Nothing is as easy as it looks. I scramble to shallow water again, while sand dollars, sharp as the thorns on my mother's roses, cut my feet. 4. Sunset, foam frothing against hard metal from the knife passage of the ship that I am on. Andaman Sea waters darkening from brilliant turquoise into sapphire mystery. Smell of the purser's cigar, my father's warm, vibrating laughter as they talk together. We are crossing from Malaysia to India, reversing my parents' long ago migration journey. Ahead of the ship, the water sparkles with iridescence. People begin to cry, "Flying fish." I see them then, jumping improbably high and hovering in the air, carrying the ocean on their skin so they can stay in the air a while. Spray blows onto my skin, and I understand as the flying fish do. Home is not the sky. I travel the world jumping as they do, memories dripping through my cupped hands, salt tears and monsoon dreams, and all those people who understood me not, and ghosts of all the functions I have not attended. 5. Somewhere a child is lost to tsunami. Somewhere a liberty drowns in airlessness. Somewhere sea turns from scenic to sardonic suffering. My World War II survivor father, a child who had lived through tsunami, laughs. Knowing another may come tomorrow or even this next minute, he tells me about his lost best friend, then says, "Look, there's a bird." And so shall I. I carry ocean.
Yes. Oh, oh,
Love that ending.
Shamala.
Is that what you hope for, Malika?
Beyond. I am so happy that
Thank you.
lit you because it burn on, and you need to see those comments? I'm gonna give you a moment to look at them before we shut this down. Because I don't want you to miss all the comments that are in there, but just to let you know, they read like this. I love your poem and the reading of it. Yeah.
If you
Yep,
don't, if you don't mind, Malaika, I want to let Mary Lou know the rumor is that this is the best open mic in town, by the way.
I can see that.
yeah. I think we just confirmed. Yes, I mean, I have to say, I walk away every Thursday going, "What the heck is in the water that you people are drinking?" Yeah, it's just gorgeous. Shama, just gorgeous. And I think that pulls it all together. You know, when you're working on a chapbook or a book, it is a whole nother beast that you're looking at. And I think you met the challenge that I put out there and you pretty much spanked it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I wouldn't have thought of it.
Yeah. I am so grateful to be in y'all's good company. And Mary Lou, thank you so very much. And Juan, I appreciate you connecting Mary Lou and our Thursday group. Be well, everybody. See you next week.
Much.
Thanks,
Bye,
Malika.
guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.